it's been quite a long journey, and it's still not over. And here we are, once again, in Albany, trying to be heard. I really do feel if we can get in the ear of Governor Cuomo, as soon as he learns the real facts and the science, as soon as he really believes the boom and bust of seeking yet another fossil fuel, that our fight will be over. And surely, surely Governor Cuomo, in his wisdom, being the tough-minded, independent thinker that he is, with an eye on his future and this issue, who is sitting in the lap of his legacy. This issue is right in the lap of his legacy, if you get my gist. He will be the one that presses the reset button. That's what I want to believe. I want to believe that he can press the reset button today. The one that lets us finally breathe a breath of fresh air, clean air, because the state of New York will not be on the oil and gas companies' hit list on their way to the bank of 1%. Something unusual for me. I'm going to thank Governor Cuomo in advance, and that I'm looking forward to watching him lead the nation in renewables and to stand ready to help with reparations that we know are coming.
We, for many years, have been part of a grassroots community group called Back to Democracy. And we were so glad that we've been doing that for 10 years, because when fracking came to town a few years ago and threatened our farm, we could easily form a coalition with other concerned citizens to ban fracking in the town of Ulysses. Since then, we've met so many wonderful activists who have asked us to share our tips on organizing local bans throughout New York State, including many wonderful brothers and sisters in the Southern Tier who are now going door to door. Our local ban movement really took off. Today, fracking is banned in 120 towns in New York State. And there are at least another 100 towns who are moving in that direction. But our local ban movement is not enough, which is why we're here today. Because if fracking is too dangerous for over 200 towns, it's too dangerous for any town, all the towns in New York State. There will be no sacrifice zones. A recent statewide survey by Cornell University's Survey Research Institute found that the majority of New Yorkers feel the risks of fracking outweigh the benefits. And whenever people have gone door to door, they found the same conclusion. You know why? Because even if the majority of land is leased for drilling in any given town in New York State, that represents a tiny minority of the citizens of that town. So the majority have everything to lose, all the adverse impacts, and nothing to gain. This applies to all towns in New York State, including those in the Southern Tier. So now what I want to say is our struggle has become something more than about fracking. It's a struggle to uphold the right of the majority to determine the future of our own community. It's a struggle for democracy. Today, you are a part of history in the making. This is the largest number of the grassroots groups against fracking and nonprofits to come together that New York has ever seen. And I see a lot of familiar faces here. I know each one of you, behind you, there are hundreds or thousands of neighbors who feel like you do. So, we want to say today that we want to stop building more infrastructure for fossil fuels, and we want to start building infrastructure for renewable energy now. website for this event, don'tfrackny.org, and signed the pledge to resist should Governor Cuomo frack any part of our beautiful state that we love. Today we insist that Governor Cuomo uphold democracy, that he provide equal protection to all New Yorkers with a statewide ban on fracking.
Because today is Monday, a lot of our folks back in the sacrifice zone could not be here. They're part of the 99% of our population, and for them today is a work day. My associates told me to come and give them hell for them. They will be cheering for all of us. The sacrifice zone counties are, make note of this, Steuben, Chemung, Tioga, Broome, and Shenango. Most of us sit on the border of Pennsylvania, and we are known as the southern tier of New York. What do we mean when we say we are here today to prevent fracking from happening in New York State? We in the sacrifice zone are already fractured. One community from another, one neighborhood from another, one family from another, because of this unsustainable technology called slick water, high volume, hydrofracturing of deep Marcellus shale. We don't have an unfiltered watershed that is protected like New York City and Syracuse. We just have unfiltered watersheds that are being sold as we speak to the frackers in Pennsylvania at 100,000 gallons per day per aquifer by our ignorant local politicians. They are the ones our governor is presently cutting deals with. What makes us less valuable as people than the folks in New York City or Syracuse? Why is it okay to use us as pawns in this unethical game of slick water chess? The ignorant politicians in Painted Post Village and town of Irwin of Steuben County are selling water from the same aquifer to fracking companies in Pennsylvania. This is happening as we speak here today. Those fools don't remember that we just lived through the first winter with no snow cover to replenish our aquifers. Those fools cheer when they can play golf one more day with no rain as crops wither and die, and as they sell our aquifer water day by day. What part of stupid don't they get? The radiation monitoring protocols announced for the Steuben County landfill by Steuben DPW are woefully inadequate to detect whether solidified flowback is being placed in the landfill. The detectors find gamma radiation, not alpha or beta. Those particles are released from the nucleotides in radium. The detectors are outside of the trucks carrying the waste. Alpha and beta particles will not penetrate the thick walls of a truck, but they do mess up lung tissue, gut linings, and bone when they get loose in the air and the water. The local political types see nothing but dollar signs when they hear drill, baby, drill. They fail to see the silica dust blown by the prevailing westerlies toward the elementary school, the child care center, and the residential areas. Silica dust is as hazardous as asbestos and has been a part of our environment in the village of Horseheads for 4 years already. Hey folks, this is happening now. We are already the victims of fracking. Multitudes of diesel trucks leave Horseheads and drive God only knows how many miles into Pennsylvania from our village with toxic chemicals, our water, and silica sand. We've been putting up with this mess for 4 years already. Where the devil is the DEC? Where is OSHA? Where is the EPA? Where's the cavalry when we're alone at the Alamo? I want it clear. If regulation worked, this would not be happening. Let me say that again. If regulation worked, this would not be happening. If regulation worked, this would not be happening.
This is an amazing movement, and thank you so much. I'm here today to bring the greetings of the Onondaga Nation and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. The Onondaga Nation and the Haudenosaunee Environmental Task Force issued a written statement opposing fracking anywhere in their Aboriginal territory. And since then, they have gone around talking. They are organizing the event on their nation in September, which all of you should think about coming to. That word will go out this week. And they have told me to go out and do whatever is necessary to work with this movement to stop this insanity. And just briefly, I've done about 3 dozen lease workshops. Many of you know that in your towns, because tens of thousands of people with leases were defrauded and lied to and do not want drilling on their property and want to end their leases. And I will come to your town if we can help you do that. No fracking way. So far, 3,200 people have signed a pledge to resist fracking. That's amazing. Those are people who've said, if I have to, I will go to jail. We are not going to let this happen. I'm going to give you the 4 reasons that for me we need to resist. The first is because this state is so beautiful, and that beauty is so based on its greatest treasure, this water, from one end of the state to the other. From the shores of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario to the beaches of Long Island Sound, from Cayuga and Cayuga and Chautauqua to Sacandaga Lake to Seneca Lake, from Saranac and St. Regis to the Oneida and Onondaga, from Skaneateles and Cazenovia, from the banks of the Mohawk and the Schoharie and the St. Lawrence, from the Susquehanna and the Delaware, from Lake Tier of the Clouds, where the Hudson forms on the shoulder of our mightiest mountain, all the way to where it flows into the sea at the Verrazano Narrows, from the Sawkill to the Beaverkill to the Catterskill to the mighty Niagara, from the Neversink to the Oswegatchie, from the George Washington Bridge to the Tappan Zee to the Bear Mountain Bridge, from the Brooklyn Bridge to Hellgate to the Peace Bridge and the Rainbow Bridge, along every lock on the Erie Canal and every harbor on Lake Champlain. We will resist. The second reason is because we love our communities. We look across the border to Pennsylvania to see what happens to those communities and the people in them. And then we look across the other border to Vermont, where we banned fracking this spring. To talk about sacrificing the southern tier, that's particularly ironic, you know. Think about New York. In the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution was born here. In the 20th century, Binghamton gave birth to IBM, to this whole new world. And now we can think of nothing better to do than just sell off the pollution rights. That is a disgrace, and it is time. It is time for Governor Cuomo to go to work and figure out a real plan for prosperity. The third reason that that we have to resist. The third reason is because we are also citizens of this planet. Yesterday we saw the Arctic ice reach the lowest level ever recorded on this planet, okay? We saw in July the warmest month that there ever was in this state, any month, in this country, any month, any year. Global warming is overtaking us and overtaking us fast, and fracking for natural gas is just one more way to speed up that climate change. So when you stand here today, it's not just for our counties in New York. You stand with people all over the planet whose islands are disappearing, whose glaciers are melting, whose food supply is disappearing. We are part of this together. And the fourth and final reason that we have to resist is because we need to stand up for democracy in this place. Andrew Cuomo has had one gut check moment so far as governor, and he passed. He stood up to the forces of hate and said it was okay for anybody to marry anybody in the Empire State. But you know what? There was no huge tide of money on the other side of that decision. This is his second gut check moment. Will he stand up to the richest industry on earth? Will he follow the polls that show a majority of New Yorkers want nothing to do with fracking? This is his gut check moment, and we will all be watching. I hope he shows the same resolve and the same courage he showed last time, because this is one of those decisions we'll remember not just for the next few years. It's one of those decisions that will be recorded in geologic time, what he does here. Amazing to see all these people out on a Monday morning here in the state of New York. It is the absolute sign that we are absolutely serious when we say that we will resist.
Thank you for that applause. You know, it's not about me, it's about all of us. This is the largest grassroots effort in New York State on any issue that I can remember. And at the end of the day, you make the difference. It's not about all of the money that the oil and natural gas companies are giving to elected officials. It's going to be about your votes and your voice in this legislature and with this governor. I'm happy to have led the fight in the legislature and introduced the ban bill. But I couldn't do it without your support and all of the grassroots efforts that are going on throughout the entire state. We're going to win this battle. And as I've said time and time again, and I'm not afraid to say it, Governor Cuomo, if you allow hydrofracking in this state, you own it. And that means that when the first contamination occurs, you own that too. And there's a sign somewhere up there about Governor Cuomo running for president. Governor, if you want to run for president, having water contamination in New York State with some of the best water quality in the country, not a good thing. Not a good thing. So let's remind the governor, as you march today, it's on him. He can stop this tomorrow if he wants to. And I have to tell you, usually I don't get partisan, but the entire Democratic Senate conference is behind my bill to ban the legislation. have a Republican senator, and remember, the Republican majority wants hydrofracking in the Senate. If you, thank you. If you have a Republican senator, if you haven't called that person, do it immediately. But remember, when you go to the polls in November, if the Democrats get control of the state Senate, come January 1st, we will pass the ban bill. That is a commitment. So I applaud all of you. Again, keep doing what you're doing, because we cannot sacrifice our water, our health, our environment, because the oil and natural gas companies want to have their way at your expense. Keep the fight going. No fracking way!
Industry has suggested that if I don't like it, I can move. But I'm not moving, and neither are any of the rest of us. That doesn't have to be our only choice. So as lawyers, my husband and I decided we were going to do something about this. We were going to fight it. We were going to use the law, not to protect corporate rights, but to protect people. And we've been using the law, as Tom West, industry lawyer, likes to say, to drive a stake through the heart of industry. I think I was supposed to feel badly about that, but I took it as a great compliment. So we fight town by town in the trenches, educating town boards about our rights, the right to our health, to our safety in our own homes, to our own mental well-being and welfare. And we hear a lot about property rights and corporate rights, but those are secondary legal constructs that flow from human rights, from people's rights, and are not ahead of those rights. So we think it is an easy choice between water and fossil fuel, between profits and health, and so we fight every single day. And I am not going to be fracked by this industry, and I don't want New York to be fracked. No fracking way.
I am so proud to be here today with all of you to send the most important message we can to Governor Cuomo. Governor Cuomo, we won't let you frack New York. If fracking takes place in any part of New York today, fracking is going to be taking place all over New York tomorrow. No way. Fracking in New York means less water and more toxic pollution for all the citizens, all the residents of New York, but also for everybody who lives downstream. And the folks who live downstream want Governor Cuomo to remember, New York is not Las Vegas. What happens in New York doesn't stay in New York. Especially not when we're talking about drilling and fracking. There are 17 million people who rely upon the Delaware River for their drinking water. 9 million of them live in New York City. The rest live downstream in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. They will all be harmed if drilling is allowed to take place in the state of New York. Opening up New York to drilling by Governor Cuomo would not just be a betrayal to present and future generations of New Yorkers, but it would be a betrayal to the New Yorkers of the past who worked so hard and so long for the better part of the last century to make sure that New York was entitled to take as much fresh, clean, healthy Delaware River water as it needed. And for the New Yorkers of the past who fought so hard to make sure that New York was working to protect its water from pollution, not allow it to become contaminated first and treated after the fact. And now, after that
people on behalf of New York. Now Governor Cuomo is thinking about taking New York's water and handing it over to the drillers? Don't be fracking crazy! The only reason Governor Cuomo can be thinking about doing that is because he thinks he's going to get some personal political gain out of it. Well, we are here today to say, Governor Cuomo, stop playing politics. Stop playing politics with our water, with our environment, with our very lives. Woo! We are here today, Governor Cuomo, to defend the water we drink, the air we breathe, the food we eat, the forests we love and need. We are here, Governor Cuomo, to defend them from the ravages of drilling. But dare I say it, we are also here to defend jobs. Jobs that depend upon a healthy river and environment. The drillers love to stay. The drillers love to stay. We need to drill in order to create jobs. Well, we are here to say, if you drill, you hurt jobs. There are hundreds of thousands of jobs and tens of billions of dollars that are generated by a healthy Delaware River. If you drill in New York, you destroy all of those jobs. So Governor Cuomo, we will stand as long and as strong as we have to stop you from giving our water, our air, our very lives to the drillers.
Thank you for having me speak to you. I live in Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania, and today many people are trying to stop the potential sacrifice zones in New York State. My state, Pennsylvania, already is a sacrifice zone. Dr. Engelder, a Marcellus Shale advisor to our governor, coined the phrase necessary sacrifice and said gas-filled residents like me should be proud to be called that. My state does in fact treat gas-filled residents like me as necessary sacrifices to the corporations who extract shale gas. At first we thought they just wanted to sacrifice our water, our air, our health, our environment, but we were wrong. They will sacrifice human safety, life itself. I don't want this to happen to you. If you want to stop fracking in New York State, you have to stop the pipelines. Williams and Cabot are proposing to build a 120-mile Constitution pipeline from Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania, through your southern tier and western Catskill Mountains up to Albany. If they build this pipeline, this area will become the second sacrifice zone of New York State. The Constitution pipeline will roll out the red carpet for shale extraction all along its corridor. Compressors will mushroom along the pipeline, pollute the air you breathe, and jeopardize your health. Communities along the proposed right-of-way have come together and formed a movement to stop the Constitution pipeline. Please join them and sign the letter of opposition. Go online to stopthepipeline.org to learn more and sign on. It's a brand new site, so be patient as they improve it. Pipelines in rural communities are particularly dangerous. The federal government does not require pipeline deaths to be reported by operators in these sparsely populated rural areas. The government does not require routine inspections of pipelines in rural areas, and there are no emergency management plans required for human safety in case of pipeline accidents. If you live in the country around a pipeline, you are just collateral damage. If you don't want to worry whether your water is healthy to drink, your air healthy to breathe, about noise pollution from industry truck traffic, about flares that sound like jet engines hovering over your house, spewing plumes of hazardous air pollutants over your homes, about fracking sites with plumes of silica wafting over your homes, then keep pipelines out of New York. New York, stop the pipelines. Stop the pipelines from rolling out the red carpet for shale gas extraction. New York, keep pipelines out of New York. Pipelines makes fracking in New York. Remember the Kevin Costner film, Field of Dreams, Build It and They Will Come? If you let pipelines into New York, fracking will follow. The U.S. State Department and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce travel all over the world to promote corporate development of shale gas. That means exporting U.S. liquid natural gas. We are ground zero for shale gas, and the world is watching to follow our lead. This is what filmmakers and reporters from Poland, South Africa, South Korea, and Japan have told me repeatedly, that their governments are watching what we do. We have the weight of the world on our shoulders, and our collective voices need to be heard all over the world. Stop fracking in New York, in Pennsylvania, in South Africa, Ireland, Australia, Nigeria. We need to raise our voices to stop fracking everywhere, but we have to start here in New York State.
The first thing is it's important we're all committed to resist. But the second thing is we have to be committed to win. And to be committed to win, it's not enough to just have passion. We must have passion with focus and passion with direction, and we must understand what we are up against. One of the things we are up against is a belief that we can safely have fracking if we have the right regulation, quote unquote. Now, I'm a regulator by trade. I'm a collaborationist by profession. I have a worldwide reputation for crafting deals between the economy and the environment. My initial instinct was that wasn't probably a bad idea to have the right regulation. But being involved in this issue, I've come to realize that's a will-o'-the-wisp. It's a mirage. This is not an industry that intends to play nice and be carefully regulated. And I can tell you as a regulator that you cannot regulate an industry that does not want to work with you to do this. You've heard lots of people talk about Pennsylvania. To all the people, whether they write for The Economist, whether they write for EDF, whether they write for environmentalists who do not understand natural gas and its implications, I invite them to go look at Pennsylvania. I invite them to look at what the industry does when it thinks it has the political power to get away with it. It's ridden roughshod over home rule. It is ridden roughshod over regulations to dispose of fracking water. This is not an industry that wants to play nice. The other thing is that I want to talk about in a moment, this is an industry that can't afford to play nice. This is an industry that has economically mismanaged shale gas fracking as badly as it has mismanaged the environment. This is not an industry that can afford to do the right thing. And if you're a regulator, you have to take that into account. So, the next thing I want to talk about is how do we win? The first way we win is we have to understand the arguments for shale gas fracking. I'm not going to repeat all the things that are wrong with shale gas fracking environmentally. You've had a terrific set of speakers. So the question is there any benefit to shale gas fracking? What is the argument for shale gas fracking in the face of all of this information? In the face of its threat to water, to land, to public health, to air? Well, we are told that natural gas is important for the American economy. We're told that natural gas can displace coal. There's nothing natural gas does that green energy can't do better. You want to run the numbers, it's very easy. And I'll tell you who's got some great numbers for this. It's Governor Cuomo. That is, I know we laugh, I know there's a lot of frustration with Governor Cuomo, but the truth of the matter is, if you look at his Solar New York, if you look at his Energy Highway, if you look at his 13-state carbon trading system, these have all been extremely good initiatives. And if you look at the facts on these initiatives, every one of them has not only saved consumers money, it has created jobs for the people of this state, and it has preserved communities. So, if we are going to win, if we're going to focus this energy, we want Governor Cuomo to learn from his own successes. We want Governor Cuomo to put together the green energy future for the state of New York. Now, what we also want Governor Cuomo's administration to do is answer the following question. How is an industry that is losing so much money going to be an engine of economic progress for the state of New York? How is an industry that is going to do tens of millions of dollars in road damage a year, that has no way to dispose of its gas fracking, that must take precious water from us, that in the state of Pennsylvania has dropped dairy production 20% in the counties that has done it, that does not carry enough insurance, that has leases that violate the standard conditions of mortgages, has been well documented, and essentially undermines people from getting household insurance. How is this industry going to provide any progress for the state of New York? Now, the state of New York knows this. They had to take back the environmental impact statement and redo the economic analysis, and they've announced they will not submit that economic analysis to public comment. Many of you have made public comments about this economic analysis. Remember, theoretically, if you do an EIS, it's a balancing of costs, all of the costs that are expressed in your signs, with the cost of benefits. Benefits the state has been able to document because, frankly, they don't exist. What drives so many people to join your organizations? It's fear of what will happen to the landscape of New York, the landscape that they are dependent upon for their livelihoods. I was speaking yesterday in Pennsylvania to a woman who owns some land along the Delaware River, and she said, all I've got is my house and my water. If you take that away from me, you've destroyed the earnings of a lifetime. And that is the uninvited guest at the gas fracking banquet. What happens to the people who are next to gas fracking, but they're not one of the landowners who are getting these windfall profits? Now, I would like to make a suggestion to Governor Cuomo. I would like him to take a look at all of this energy around here. I would like him to think about all of his successes in green energy. And I would like him to think about what would happen if he put together this energy with a green energy plan for the state of New York. I would like to suggest to Governor Cuomo that if he does that, a year from now, he can invite us all back and bask in all of the good statistics, the lowered consumer costs, the increased jobs, the leadership of the state of New York. It's clear to me from my experience in what you might call the halls of the establishment, that there are many people who feel that you have to balance gas fracking against its costs. You heard some of the silly statements that you should be proud to be a sacrifice zone. But I don't think the public in this country is looking for, quote, that kind of balance or that kind of compromise. I think what they're looking for is leadership. And I would like to suggest to Governor Cuomo that we should all come back here a year from now and be celebrating his leadership in creating a green energy state that would be a model for the United States of America and a path